make-believers. In today's video, I am doing my writing journey number 23, 24, 25? I'm not entirely sure, but I think that's right. So first of all, this is going to be my last writing journey for a while. Okay, actually not even that long. Basically, I've decided that March I am taking a hiatus from doing extra things outside of my writing because I'm working on some stuff which I'm going to tell you about now in my writing journey, and I really just want to get focused on that and stop doing other things that are taking time away from doing that, especially since now I'm back at the nursery and so I have even less time to do the writing stuff, and there's a lot of writing stuff which we will get into. So firstly, a little bit more about my March hiatus. I will lead to what led to this in a second, but basically I realized that there is a lot of time that I spend doing things that I enjoy doing, but that do not get me any closer to finishing the books that I want to write. So I calculated that I spend about 4 hours a week doing a video, shooting this video, another videos, and shooting Freedom Fridays, etc., etc. So 4 hours a week, that's 16 hours a month. That is, just gonna use the calculator, 192 hours a year that is spent away from my writing. I can write a lot of stuff in 192 hours. In an hour I can write about 1,000 words, sometimes more. So in 192 hours I can write about 192,000 words. Not just that, but actually editing takes longer than filming. So I spend about 4 hours a week filming, but then I also spend editing Freedom Friday about 3 hours a week, and editing my weekly videos like this I spend about 2 hours a week. So that is a total of 5 hours a week to editing, sometimes more, but approximately 5 hours a week to editing, which works out at 20 hours a week, 20 hours a month, which works out at 240 hours a year is spent on editing. That's 240,000 words that I could have been writing. Then there's Twitter. I spend about an hour a day on Twitter, so that is 5 hours a week if you don't include the weekends. And again, as we already know, that comes to another 240 hours spent away that I could be writing. So basically, that has led me to decide that I am not going to do any of those things in March, because let me tell you, let's get into the writing journey and I can tell you all the things that I want to work on. So firstly, as you all know, I'm working on the final book in the Last Adventure series. It is pretty much done now, but of course you need to do, well, I do. Some writers can just write the book and they let it out and it's amazing. I need to do my second draft, and I like to stop after 3 drafts. I used to go too intense and do like 7 drafts. Now, I'm pretty comfortable and happy with the end result after 3 drafts. So I'm working on the last book in the Last Adventure series, which you already know the name to, Going Under. So I'm working on Going Under. It's going to feel very, very strange after finishing the series because it has been 3 years of my life, 6 books. But I'm very excited for finishing it. I was sad at first, but now I'm actually really looking forward to it because I've also been planning the second series that I will be releasing, and I am loving it. And of course, also since starting this whole indie publishing journey, I've read a lot more indie published authors, because it turns out that traditional books and indie published books are actually different. They have a lot of awesomeness, obviously, in common, but indie books, I find, do tend to run faster. They're more fast-paced. They seem to be shorter, and they're a lot of fun. I find that traditionally published books are also fun and captivating and intriguing, but I think there's also a certain audience of the indie community, based on what I've learned over the past 3 years, this is just my understanding, that expect fast-paced, quicker reads for the indie market. So over my 3 years of being in the indie published market, talking to other indie published authors and talking to the indie community, those that read it, I've learned a lot of valuable tips. So I've learned that the best things to do in the indie publishing market is, of course, you still want the descriptions, you still want the build-up of the plot, etc., etc., but it's good if you can just be as fast-paced as possible. So not rushed, but always raise the stakes. And I mean, obviously, I suppose that's good if you can do that in any book. But I find that when I read the traditionally published books and the indie published books, and also when I've looked at feedback from the people in the community, they tend to expect a quicker or shorter read, but with just as much action. I'm not sure why. From the author's side of it, I've heard that obviously it brings the readers back because you give them a fun, action, fast-paced ride, because of course you don't have this huge marketing budget that traditionally published authors have, so of course you really need your book to grab, and keep on grabbing with the next book and the next book and so on. So I found that the fast-paced, the better. Also, as I've said, I found that traditionally published books tend to be longer than indie published books. I don't know if I'm the type of person that can write less than 90,000 words, but apparently the sweet spot in the indie market is between 70,000 words to 85,000 words. So if you can write something between that, the audience is satisfied, happy, and your story can still evolve and progress and take on a beautiful dynamic arc, but staying so epically captivating that you do not need this huge traditional publishing budget because your stories just keep bringing them back. But that is basically what I have learned. So anyways, that is what I'm working on now. I'm working on a story that is really hooking, so that something is constantly happening and you don't know where it's going to go. So it's actually a lot of fun and excitement to write as well. I mean, obviously I loved writing the other books, the Last Elentra series, and I loved the build-up and stuff, but I will say that it's a much slower build-up. I mean, stuff's always happening, but it's a build-up, it's a process, and you get to know the characters and the world, and it's amazing, and I love it so much. But this is definitely different for me, where it's just like, go, 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 boom, 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 boom. I'm having so much fun brainstorming every chapter, and basically my challenge to myself is that every chapter is going to end with a gripping hook, like not just a, oh, that's a nice chapter, what's next, but with something like, and I remember actually reading A Reaper at the Gates. Now that book is huge, but I remember a lot of that book is that same kind of thing where every single chapter you're just like, okay, can I breathe? And I loved it. So I'm really enjoying this new series. I love the story, I love the characters. It's going to be a duology because I've decided that 6-book series are just too long, and I'm hoping to get both books out this year. So that is my plan, which is why I really need more time to write. Now, on top of all of that I'm doing, I am of course doing Ashes of Legends. So now, with Ashes of Legends, I did think, okay, I'll do a year of submitting. I say that because obviously I did do a few months of submitting, then I stopped for like 4 or 5 months because I went back and fixed up the book and changed my query letter and and then I went back to the submission process, so it hasn't been a full year yet. But in terms of when I first began submitting to now, in about March or end of March time, it would have been a year. So I was thinking, okay, if nothing by the end of March, I'm going to indie publish it. But of course, a lot of the agents take a while to get back to you, and so I've been looking, and a few of them are said, you know, 6 to 12 weeks, some of them are 2 to 3 weeks. The problem is I've been submitting like now, like recently I've been submitting, so I'm like, okay, so I can't do it at the end of March because there's going to be, you know, it's still going to be out there, and how terrible would it be if I was to be like, screw it, I'm going to indie publish it, and then I get an agent that's like, I love it, oh my gosh, and I'm like, oh, I went and did it myself now. And then of course, now that I have my new series that I'm working on after Last Elentra series, Ashes of Legends is going to be coming out into the world at some point, either through me, through a small press publishing company, through a large press publishing company, but somehow it's coming out into the world. But first, I will be giving you these 1 or 2 other series. And most of you have already seen, probably from my newsletter or whatever, stuff about my new series, but for those of you who don't know, it involves angels, demons, and a special academy. That is all the information I'm giving so far, and I'm calling it tentatively, like now I'm calling it Operation Angel. That is not the name. I know the name. If you want to hear more about it in March, because I'm obviously not going to be filming, but if you want to hear more about it, then do follow me on Instagram or Facebook or my newsletter, because I will be giving more information there. So that is all for my writing journey so far, and I will be back in April. I love you all, I will miss you, and thank you so much for sticking with me through this journey. And I do hope that you follow me on the other social media thingies, because of course I will also be doing videos there, like my stories and whatnot. So still really great to see you and have you on my travels, and I will be back very, very soon. Until next time, I'll see you. Bye!